Hello. Hi everybody. I often do not know if things are working, so please tell me that nothing broke down this time because I'm still kind of very self-conscious about things breaking all the time. Um, but I do hope that you can all see and hear this transmission as we return with another episode of Soundclash the Clampdown on the mighty Arvan Eleron channel. Yet again on a Sunday, we take over the stream because Greg is not here to stop us. Hi, everybody. I hope that you all are well on this Valentine's Day. Um, it's um, I don't know what to say. I guess I'm just really excited to be doing a non-Valentine's thing. But I do hope that you all are sharing this time with your own loved ones, whether those are your partners, your family, your friends, even. So long as you have someone in your life that you love, I hope that you are spending that time with those loved ones. And I'm glad to know that some portion of that time could be spent with us. So thank you for passing through. I should do the obvious housekeeping things first and foremost. This is Gregory Wilson's channel, twitch.tv/arvanelron. And the support of this channel also supports work like Soundclash the Clampdown and the development of Soundclash as a game. So if you would like to support the Arvan Eleron channel, there are various means that you can do so. You can do so via the Patreon, which you can find at exclamation point Arftreon. You can rewatch streams of past videos at exclamation point Arftube. You can you can enjoy some of Greg's previous writing work and other things that are available for sale at exclamation point Arf shop. Um, there are various opportunities for you to not only enjoy the content of the stream, but to support the work that this stream does, which includes ensuring that this stream can happen. Um, you can also generally support the world in becoming a better and more productive place using tools that you can also find in the chat as well, which include exclamation point BLM to spotlight some of the amazing groups that are doing very groundbreaking work to elevate the lives and experiences and dignity of Black people. And exclamation point help now, if I believe is the um, command in chat for resources regarding mental health. If you or anyone that you know requires some of that assistance in real life, or just if you want to be more aware of those issues in your own life, so you can be a better steward of your own friends and loved ones. I see that I'm still having audio issues, which means that this is an audio issue that I have no idea where it's coming from still. So more testing needs to be done. This is the first time that it's happened in a Soundclash stream, but now that I know that it's a genuinely ubiquitous issue overall, I'm going to have to do some more troubleshooting regarding that. I am very sorry that that is going to be an issue for this stream. I am going to be more diligent about it in future. It's as far as I can see, it is not a setting in my OBS that I have gotten wrong. It is not um, a CPU overload issue because nothing else is running but what is absolutely necessary for this game in particular. Um, so I suspect that it's going to be a technical issue that requires me to upgrade my hardware, which I am not in a position to do presently. But you can help me do that if you support not only the channel, but if you also support the work of me and the other creators on this individual stream. Um, so with that, I should probably first join all of my comrades orally by reconnecting in this space here so everybody knows that I am still present.
Hello, hello.
I hope I didn't disturb anyone in a very serious conversation while I bring us all to this screen over here where all the magic takes place.
Hello.
Um, thank you
Hello,
very
hello, hello.
much for
Hi.
thank you very much for joining us on
Oh,
a Valentine's Day stream, everyone. This is the lovely cast of Soundclash the Clampdown, and I'm really glad to be able to play a game with them again. I would like each and every one of them to introduce themselves, tell us who you are and what you do, starting with Vale.
hey guys, I'm Valeria Vicencio. Um, I play Ava on this stream, and I am game designer in the making.
Hell yeah.
In the making is good. Next, Nathan.
Hi, everybody. I'm your androgynous android game show host from the future, Nathan Blades. And apparently, we are getting audio chops from everybody, which is an OBS quirk. Just to talk tech for just a moment while I'm doing my introduction. How I tended to fix this was unfortunately to close OBS and reopen it again, which is really annoying because it means you have to kill the stream to do. But usually that tends to fix it. So if you're okay with us doing our introductions again after you reboot OBS, that might be the best way to fix the robot and crinkle tickle like technology is a curse. Sorry.
I am so upset by this revelation because I don't want to have to like.
No, it sucks so much. I had to do the I had to this happened to me for a while until I worked out the trick to getting it to work correctly.
Thank you very much for letting me know at least.
Mhm.
Um, what will end up happening is we may have to take a break very early, but I'm hoping that things will even out at some point. Perhaps, hopefully, we'll see. Um, next, Katie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Katie Chin, current comedy student, I guess, is what I do right now. And it looks like my green screen is ripping a void into time and space. So that's what I'm dealing with right now.
You considered dealing with the noise void besides your head?
Oh, I don't have my fiddle on me right now.
Uh,
Can't play the fiddle, unfortunately. I'll have to break out a melodica and just play some random notes that I can do.
well, if
Duly
creepy
noted.
crystals start popping out and spinning, we knew you will. Show us your new glowy, like translucent hand when that happens.
I'll do my best, but if it's translucent, you won't be able to see it. Mostly.
Mostly. And last but not least, Amber.
Hey, I'm Amr Emerez. I am a writer and game designer and other stuffs at various points in times. Right now, mostly doing writing stuff, catching up on way too many deadlines. Yeah, that's me.
Way too many deadlines. I know that feeling as well. I am yet praying for you. So thank you all for joining us on this Valentine's Day episode of Soundclash Clampdown. It's been a while since we've played, so I'm really glad to be able to return with you all. Even if the void seems to be consuming Katie very eagerly. Um, but
This lamp.
um, where we last left off, um, the crew decided that it was time to finally register for the Clash and become a full-fledged band, in part motivated by the actions of a very creepy promoter who had visited Ava's school, possibly hoping to scout the next big thing in the most problematic ways possible. Um, but since that's happened, now we can progress into the real drama of attempting to get in your first performance. But before we do that, there is a thing that happens off screen and out of everyone's immediate vicinity, which is that this scene opens late at night. A man is in an upstairs loft apartment, um, having a sip of bourbon on the very ostentatious entertainment system that is beside the window. You can hear Justin Timberlake's What Goes Around Comes Around playing very, very loudly. Um, and he's just by himself enjoying this drink when he hears what sounds like a door slamming somewhere in his apartment. But he's alone, and to the best of his knowledge, no doors were open for that to happen. He hears it, it immediately makes him jump, and then he casts it out of its casts the sound out of his mind, and then returns to his drink. And then he hears something else slam, but this time it sounds like um, the window from his bedroom. That strikes him as requiring a little bit more attention, so he puts down his drink and walks towards his bedroom. Nothing seems to be disturbed at all. He puts on the light to make sure. Doesn't notice anything immediately out of the ordinary. And then when he stops and like really takes it in, he can hear what sounds like water dripping. He tries to find the source of the sound, and it sounds like it's coming from the center of his bedroom. And when he walks over to his bed, which is in the center of his bedroom, it is cold as ice to the touch. It looks dry, it feels dry to some degree, but it feels absolutely cold. He briefly mutters to himself, "What the hell?" And decides he's just going to step back out of his room because that doesn't make any sense to him. And the minute that he is in his hallway, away from the bedroom door simply slams in front of him. When he looks ahead into the hallway, he notices two figures in what seem to be navy blue robes, veils covering their entire faces with these weird runes written across them in what seems like bold yellow lines. They don't say anything to him. The first thing that he does, the moment that he sees, the moment that they appear to his view, is that he reaches across the other side of the hallway for an umbrella that he put there earlier in the day after walking in the rain earlier that week, and swings, and the umbrella passes clear through their heads. They don't respond, they don't flinch, they don't say anything. And then a voice from behind him says, "Why didn't you answer?" When he turns around to find the voice, no one is there in the hallway. He turns around again to find the first two figures, and they are not in the room anymore. He's like, "Okay, this is very creepy. I think I need to make a phone call." He rushes over to where he was sitting to take his cell phone off the table, and he in his next hand he reaches for his drink and makes to down it, and it doesn't move in the glass. It has turned into a solid block of ice, sealed against the bottom of his glass. Even the glass itself now is so cold that he literally cannot let go of it. It has sealed against the tips of his fingers. He can feel breathing against the back of his neck, ice cold, and turns around to see yet another figure in dark blue robes, a veil covering their face, but the text of the runes on this person's veil are not yellow, but deep crimson red. this person is standing so close to him that for a moment he's like, I know this. This looks familiar, but he cannot place it. The rest, everything on his face is just etched with fear. But in that moment of understanding, he's like, what is this? Who is this? And the voice says to him from behind that veil, you and everyone else who's responsible for this will pay. At the moment she finishes that sentence, he feels like the entire room has gotten absolutely positively cold. As if he's on the very summit of a mountaintop without any gear, without any protective clothing, as if he is freezing to death in his room. And then it stops. He feels absolutely normal. But this figure is still standing right in front of him, and he says, who are you? And before anyone can reply, he feels this intense force, not pushing him, but as if it's pulling him from the back, all the way out of his apartment window and against the wall of the building right beside it. And everything for him immediately goes black. When we return to site, the first person that we return to in this scene is River. River, where are you right now?
What time of day is it? Is it still?
It's still evening. It has been 3 or 4 days since you all filled out paperwork for the band.
So is it a Friday?
Yeah, Thursday, Friday, about.
Okay. I would think she's out delivering food at her part-time job.
Ooh, what is this part-time job again?
It was at a restaurant near her apartment that I pretty sure I named something French. So
I'm sure it's somewhere in my notes, but my notes are so haphazard at this moment that we're just going to gloss over its title for now, and then I will clarify that at a later date. That's all my fault. That is not any of my cast's fault. Um, but yes, so at this hour of the night, where do you like? Are there any um, restrictions in terms of how you regularly travel, depending on the hour of the night it is when you're doing deliveries, or do you just like wherever someone calls you, you will go all the way to the edge of the hex if you need to?
the delivery radius would be about the hex. I forget how big the hex is, but you know what? Yeah, it's the whole hex because this restaurant is conveniently pretty close to the center. So they have a pretty good perimeter, which is why it's not too hard to get a delivery job from them. And I like to think that she has like, you know, those little red scooters that have like big boxes on the back wheels, and so you can put stuff in them. And I think there's a lot of pictures of people just stacking so much stuff or way too many people on them.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of scooter.
Okay. So how many deliveries do you have? In
If
fact,
it's, yeah, how early in the evening is it? In fact, what?
um, I would like for you to give me a fortune roll. I would like for you to roll
Roll.
roll 2d12s for me.
2d12s. Boop. A 1 and a 6.
A 1 and a 6. Okay.
Love me a lady tonight.
That that was not very ideal. Um you have you have like 8 very wide boxes, like just stacked one on top of the other in the back of the scooter.
Hmm. It is not secure. She
It
is
is not
driving
secure.
with one hand, like on the top boxes.
Yeah,
It is
like
not a secure way to drive.
one individual person ordered essentially the large portion menu of every meal that has meat in it that this restaurant serves.
Hmm.
And they are stacked in such a way, like all of these boxes are tied against each other by 2 strands of like very thin thread.
Yep.
And if you don't essentially prove yourself to be the world's best driver in the universe, um, you are going to make a mess all over one of the main roads um, in the cliffs, and it's going to be a big deal. It would be the kind of embarrassing mess that would obviously make the front page of Discord the next morning.
Uh,
So you're trying to avoid that at all costs, which is unfortunate because attempting to hold 6 cardboard boxes from behind while driving is also a very easy way to get in a serious accident, but you're doing your very best.
yep. Gotta make those deliveries. Gotta get a paycheck so that you can keep going to school.
Hmm. And while that is happening, I would like for you to make me a roll that is either, and you can tell me what makes sense for you in your context. Um, it is either observe or study.
Observe or study?
Something is happening nearby that requires either an observe or study roll.
Well, I have a lot of study. I'm guessing it would be just noted, like, well, observe makes more sense though.
If, is this your final answer?
I'm willing to let this all go to hell, so let's do observe, even though I have study. Ngaha.
Okay,
I would like a spicier roll, please.
okay. So your
2d20s.
wait, is it that you have no dots in observe?
I have no dots in observe, I have 2 dots in study.
This is going to be delightful. You will indeed have to roll two d20s and have to take the lowest result.
Yes, the spicy roll,
Your
please.
your position is risky, and
Mm-hmm.
your effect is limited.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Boop. I got 2 11s.
11 is, if I recall, not very good, but not
It's a
very
full
worse.
success. 9 to 13 is a success, I think.
All right,
Regular roll
yes,
success.
right, okay, which means that you notice exactly what you need to see, which is um
That wasn't spicy at all.
6, 7 blocks ahead of you on the main road that you're presently on.
Uh-huh.
There is a pile of cars, just like stopped on either side. There are police cars. There is one fire truck. There are 2 or 3 white vans that you can see.
Oh no.
Um, you can make out like the difference between authority vans and vans that seem to be um, like less taken care of, a little rustier. You can tell that like some of them are actually in severe need of repair, even. But you can see people like just filing out of all of these vehicles. Um, as you start to get closer, you notice that everybody seems like very intense about a thing, but several of those people, in their intensity, you can make out like the vague sense that they're absolutely, positively confused about what's going on. And
So unnecessary.
just as you
This is not
get
a residential area.
about 4 blocks away from that commotion, two authority agents like essentially just kind of fall out of either side of the street, um, and put up these like large canes in the middle of the street in such a way that they form an X so large that they take up from the center of your eyesight all the way to either side of the street as close as possible to the edges of buildings. And one of them, a very strong built woman on the left, on your left side, kind of grunts at you. Hey, turn left here. No one's continuing down this street.
Do I know that the turning left detour would indeed allow me to continue to the place I need to be?
Yeah, you'll just need to make a couple of weird turns, but it's very easy for you to find yourself on the other end of all of this mess and just continue down this road, or even just turn left and find another route that will take you to your destination.
Okay. Sure. What's going on?
None of your business, friend.
Oh, I'm not your friend, pal. If that's gonna be the case, see you later.
You can visibly hear both of them sigh exasperatedly as you turn, but they just retract their staffs and just go back to focusing on whatever is taking place down there.
You're a friend. Who does that? People on the street. Like I'm on a scooter. Just people that are in a car, you can call them a friend. Just like tons of muttering. Like what an event. This is a large pileup. This is like kind of close to a residential area. Like what's going on? Can I like give the pileup a closer look as once I'm closer before I turn?
I can say that you can do that before you turn, which would definitely make sense as a study to me.
Aha.
Because now you have the opportunity to give it a closer look, however briefly you have the opportunity to. Your position is desperate. Take note of that for your
Yeah.
character.
Cool.
And your effect would be great.
Nice. I'm just gonna roll a d12 for that.
Okay.
The spicy can come later. Boop. Oh wow. Cool. A 1. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna lose all of my stuff. Let's go. It's spicy now. Actually, it's a 5. Is that a success? That's just a failure, right?
That is indeed a failure. That's not ideal.
It's fine.
So like the loud noises of all of the sirens and like the flashing lights and the audible sound of dozens of people arguing with each other very intensely makes it very difficult for you to make out anything, and it also becomes immediately apparent to the cop that shouted at you that you are looking. So now they're very insistent that you have to leave. So you turn and go on your way.
Yeah. Bye, friend. New friend. Who's my friend?
While that's happening, I should ask, where is everyone else? In turns, I just want everybody to briefly tell me if you're alone, if you're with someone else, if you're with any other members of the crew, starting with Nakmat.
Well, if this is late at night-ish, right?
Yeah, like 7-ish, 8-ish.
Yeah. Then I am in my lovely little cave under the lake. So isolated by myself, doing science.
Okay. What tools are you using at this moment? What are you observing in particular?
I think I am trying to observe my hand because there's something interesting happening there. It's still translucent, and
Indeed.
like Galaxy, probably a mix of instruments. So like I've got a bunch of musical adjacent instruments and musical instruments. So like a tuner, actual musical instruments, speakers, set up like a feedback loop, see what it did to my arm, stuff like that. Just messing around with everything possible.
Mm-hmm. I think you should give me a role for that.
Should I? Well, if you insist.
So, what do you think in the business of doing these tests is absolutely required? I do think that a study or a tinker definitely plays a role here.
Both are equal to me. I think Tinker is perhaps more along the line of what Nagmat does at this point. This is
Yeah.
more. This isn't like taking a phenomenon and examining it. This is more just throwing every creation she can build at it and hoping for a result.
Well, I mean, the distinction essentially to me is tinker would be doing tests specifically to see what the scientific results would be, like what your testing apparatus would immediately discover. And study would be a broader sense of what the hell is happening to my hand.
Yeah, I think it's more the former.
Yeah. So,
I don't think they are particularly concerned with the state of their hand. They are curious about what the implications of it are to their devices.
okay.
They do not have a great self-preservation instinct.
Which is going to be brilliant for this game, I'm just saying. So, you will give me. Right, so your position is. Your position is standard.
Okay.
But your
I'm gonna roll.
but your effect is no, I mean your position is controlled, but your effect is um your effect is limited.
Makes sense. Alright. I'll be rolling 1d20 plus my tinker.
Okay. And that gets you
The perfect Nagmat roll. Strain myself.
okay.
A 19 on the dice.
Nice. Delightful. This is brilliant because when you said that you were going to be in the cave, I was like, how are we going to do the thing? And now I know how we do the thing. So things that are of note while you're doing the test, since almost a week, since like a week and a day or something like that have passed since you and River have entered this space in the first place, you've noticed that the translucent area of your hand has since reduced. It's like down to just a little bit past the wrist at this point when more forearm was also translucent. That's reduced somewhat in the past few days. But your testing has revealed several things that you hadn't noticed previously, either in past tests or like general observation of your hand before. One is that interaction with, like direct interaction with tuning forks and stuff, um, briefly extends the translucent area, but it always returns to wherever it is presently reduced to. Um, and that your interaction with um, things that are of a magical nature very weirdly seems to like create different kinds of phenomena within the translucent area of your hand, such that the weird um, nebula resembling kind of embeddings within that translucent area seem to move sometimes and take very specific shapes. Sometimes things that you recognize, sometimes things that you don't recognize. You haven't been able to determine what they immediately mean yet. Um, but at this immediate particular moment, as you're attempting to observe this, one of the things that you notice is first, um, the within the translucent area of your hand, you had started noticing um, brief swells of what seem to be pink and purple bubbles that seem to be taking the shape of a weird nebula within the palm of your hand.
I can live with that aesthetic.
And around the time that you had just like run a series of tests, played some songs toward it, and nothing had happened. And then very briefly, as you were just like taking notes of some stuff, you noticed that all of the pink area of your hand has suddenly moved to form what looks like the 3D shape of an arrow, pointing out of the tip of your middle finger and pointing northeast of your present position. It feels to you very weirdly as if something is like you know that nothing is happening, but when you look at it, it feels like something is trying to escape your finger. But that's not happening.
If I like start moving my finger around, is it always pointing to the same point?
Yeah, like the stem of the arrow will always take up the shape of your finger, but the tip will always seem to like poke out of your like poke facing your fingernail or the tip of your finger or the edges. If you try to shift your hand, the tip of the arrow will just relocate to the other side and start shifting from there. But it's always pointing in the exact same place.
Once I'm confirmed that it's doing that, I will put down my experimental equipment, go to the edge of the cave, and start swimming out and walking towards wherever that arrow is pointing.
Do you have a change of clothes? You're just gonna come out of the lake?
No, this is a thing I do often, so I think I have a location where I change.
Right, yes.
Or I think like I leave a towel, like as if I'm going for a dip, right? Like I have a towel and clothes, and I've got like a swimsuit. So I leave like my lab outfit in here. I'm wearing my swimsuit. I go out and swim, dry off, put on my clothes, and head out.
Okay. So while you are in transit, where is Oliver right now?
Indeed. So Oliver has a particular fondness for an old observatory that is in one of the highest points of the hex that we're currently in. It has since closed, but he returns regularly to practice his instruments there. He used to write really terrible teenage poetry when he was younger there, but it's now a space where he can kind of like work on new audio tech performance stuff in a place that's relatively quiet, especially since the observatory is foreclosed. So he is like clambered up, he knows how, to what would be the top of the dome where the telescope inside the observatory, whether the telescope is even still there or not, it's probably likely gone. But is kind of like looking up at the stars, or at least the stars starting to come out since it's now getting dark, with his theremin, his portable like theremin that he keeps in his satchel out, and one of the tiny black crystalline pyramids that was causing chaos in the apartment before he took his back with him, and is kind of like, well, oh no, we're alone, so we don't need to use the higher register. So we managed to get this working before. It required a record, and I don't have that, but if Ava can make it work by just humming, I can do this too. And is fiddling around, getting a sense of the space that he's working in, because theremins pick up any metal, in the vicinity of the performance, and that will actually affect the kind of tones it produces. So there's always a slight tuning phase as we understand the environment with the instrument we're using.
Okay. I see. Aha.
Mm-hmm.
I would like for you
Yes.
to give me an attune roll.
Oh, well, it would be my pleasure, good sir. I do have 2 points in the tune, so I'd be rolling at +4, as I understand.
I am actually going to give you a bonus on that roll, so you will be rolling +6.
In that case, I will definitely be rolling a d12.
Your position is desperate. Take note of
Oh, heck yes. I will... Noted. So we are rolling 1d12 +6 in a desperate situation. Oh, what's the effect level?
And your effect is standard.
Indeed. 12, which is a full
Good.
success.
12 is good. Okay. You are in the regular business of running your experiments. You get some really neat tones. Every once in a while, it seems like somewhere just above some of the lower registers, you are noting things that sound totally unlike theremins whatsoever. It seems less electronic and more strangely natural. In like it seems to be entering some kind of harp-esque, violin-esque sonic area that you really, really like, and you start playing with some of those
Okay.
sounds in particular.
Mm-hmm. This is what we're getting somewhere here.
And very
Keep it
briefly,
together.
very briefly, as you start testing with those sounds a little bit more, you think that you just heard a word.
He, like, drops back and his eyes goes aside, like, okay. What was that? Well, okay, so we were around here, and then if we turn our hand just... And do we hear the word again?
Not the same word, but as you start like essentially positioning yourself more ideally as you continue experimenting, give me another tune roll.
Fantastic. Same kind of numbers, or are we rolling at +4 this time?
You are still rolling at +6.
Mhm.
Your position is still desperate.
Oh, gosh. I might accidentally cast magic again. Let's go. 10. Whoa, it's shaving it fine, but that's still a success.
Okay, because your effect is going to be limited, but that still works. You hear... It's not impeded by static, but it is impeded by the uniqueness of the tones that you were otherwise experiencing. You are essentially being distracted by good music at this point, but you know that
feeling it.
you know that the word is, you know that something is happening there, and what you're hearing is someone speaking, but you have no idea at this point what they're saying. You can make out that those are words. You can also make out what is the sound of something slamming against something else. Something that the theremin cannot make. Like the solid thudding sound.
Is it rhythmic or arrhythmic clanging?
I mean, you only hear the one sound. It's just like one thud. And then immediately after that happens, you get back right into that very interesting sonic area, unimpeded by other sound.
I think Oliver stops, and the sound atop this observatory suddenly goes quiet as he goes over to his bag and picks up what's it called? This is a Tales of the Zodiac Volume Volume 5, which is what he calls his notebooks. His poetry notebooks are all Tales of the Zodiac. And this is his 5th one. There's a lineage of these things, and flips through to the next blank page, and starts to. He's not really good at song lyrics, so it's very much in spoken word poetry energy, but it's trying to write something to the cadence of what he heard, because he doesn't know the words. But he heard something, and there was rhythm. All speech, all dialogue has a natural rhythm to it, and that kind of sat with him. So he's now trying to write at, at, at least beat poetry lyrics to the cadence of what he heard. And now it's kind of like sitting crisscross applesauce on top of this observatory, trying to scribble some lyrics down off this one weird experimental moment. He is grinning, his eyes are sparkling. Nobody has seen Oliver this genuinely happy. You have seen him fake happy.
But this is like pure excitement.
But this is genuine joy at kind of having some kind of artistic breakthrough through his own willpower and experimentation. And I think that is what is giving him that moment of joy, is that this is something that he's managed to engineer, something entirely unique under his own power. And he's thrilled.
Are your eyes anime huge in wonder?
Oh, I think it kind of came up before at one moment where he was kind of wowed by the magic of the thing, where his eyes sparkled like the night sky, and we get that again. It's probably the same animation thing. Like, they pushed the budget up for the first time that happened, and they're like, "Well, we need to reuse that because that took a long time to do." So it's that shot again.
Nice. So we are entering the territory of another role, because I like the idea of you essentially using surreal automatic writing to try to reconstruct the words that you have seen.
Mm-hmm.
Slow. I mean, I'm gonna leave this up to you. I do think that this is an attune, but there is obviously room for there is room somewhere for that to be composed, very obviously. So I guess it's really a matter of, are you aware that some weird magic bullshit is happening here, and you're trying to interact very deeply with that? Or are you trying to interact with it purely on a, this is what I heard level, I'm trying to reconstruct what I heard?
Well. I would like to, for the sake of using mechanics for narrative, I would like it to be a compose role, because that is specifically his kind of goal, even though he is aware that this is a magical thing occurring. However, I do have the special attribute of studious gain +2 to gather information on magical anomalies. So if we are accidentally spitting some magic verse here, it's composed with magical backing, if we're down with that.
Yes, you would be able to add this bonus, and either way. So if you wanted it to be a composed rule, that would still be fair. So how many dots do you have in compose?
I have no dots in compose, which is why I was relatively keen to use that +2.
Fair enough. No dots in compose very interestingly puts you in the territory where you would have to roll 2d20 and take whichever one is low or strains, whichever one comes first, +2, so you could strain straining.
Okay, that's a really interesting combination. I like that we've hit this outcome, then. Hell yeah, let's do it. So we are rolling.
It would be 2d20s.
20.
You don't need to type the +2 because that would make the individual numbers look weird on roll 20. Your position would be. Oh wow, your position would be desperate. Oh my god.
I'm glad I'm getting the desperate rolls in now, where I'm not putting my allies in danger. But I might. Well, who knows? Who truly knows? But okay, let's do it. Unless there's anything else.
Your effect would be. would it be standard? Your effect would be great. In fact, yes, your effect would be great.
Well, we're going all out here. Eyes sparkling. He writes down lyrics. A 4 and a 10.
10
Plus
plus
2
2.
pulls that up to a minor success. Oh, 10 plus 2 is a full success. So whichever you want to go with.
So it would have to be the minor success.
Mm-hmm. I think that's appropriate, actually, all things considered.
Yeah. You do notice, like, you're just like scribbling things, and bits and pieces of those things don't solidly make sense. But you are generally basing it on these are the common phrases that people use in the world. These are the words that commonly come together that have these similar sounds, these similar vowel sounds, these similar phonemes. You identify, like, the closest you get to something that makes sense is at the end. You think you think that the voice that you heard said either we'll pay or will pay. But you haven't, like, you are still struggling to construct the rest of the sounds that you hear. But in that um, days of you, like, being utterly subsumed by this experiment, you briefly do not notice that your crystal, now unattended at the top of your theremin, is now whirring so quickly that it's very slowly burning a small hole at the corner of the room that you're working at. Like, it's about to, like, spin all the way through this observatory. And, like, you may absolutely lose it because you know that there are rooms in this building that have been reduced to rubble, that are covered by, like, graffiti and, like, other people's litter and stuff like that. And you know that if you lose sight of this thing, you may have to spend the rest of the night having to look for it. And you're trying to avoid that at all costs. But right now, you haven't noticed that.
May I
Yes.
let it go? As in, then I don't catch it in time, and it drills through the ceiling of the observatory, and Oliver's like, I have to get it back, but I don't have time. It is, like, basically midnight at this point, and while I am a grown-ass adult and coming back home late is not a huge problem, there are additional logistical errors if I decide to stick around here, because there's probably going to be night patrol. And so there's a kind of, like, I know that this thing is here and dangerous, but I have to come back for it another time. So it is out of my sight and mind for a while, because I like how that could be spicy down the line. Is that okay?
That works for me. I mean, knowing these crystals, anything can happen.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, you are, like, presently consumed by that work. You make that note very obviously, because that's one of the few things that still sounds absolutely positively human. That you literally write down those two options: will pay, and you, like, circle them so you know that those things make sense to you.
I think the other lyrics are veiled metaphor for the last couple of days Oliver just had. I think this is kind of I think the lyrics would go quite well in something quite shoegazy or psychedelica, in that it's kind of, it's talking about listening to the needle fall upon the record, portals open to other worlds as we open our eyes to sights unseen, so on and so forth. So it varies, with no context, it's like stoner rock bullshit. But with the day that we've just had, it's probably quite on the nose. And with a final line about something of kind of like, and if we let the magic slip through our fingers, we'll all pay. And with that kind of, like, scribbled down, he snaps Tales of the Zodiac Volume 5 shut and looks to his theremin and a hole in the ceiling of the observatory and goes, no, 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 no. And wherever we cut to, we can.
I do like the idea of like the camera movement literally being us like looking at your reaction and then cutting up to the hole that has been made in the ceiling, literally still smoking, and then the camera follows out of that hole, looking over at the hex as we see this brief disturbance taking place, and then moving past whatever is happening over there to Ava. In the evening, I imagine Ava is home.
Um, I actually figure that Ava has cooked dinner for her daughter and told her, hey, you know, I'm gonna go out.
Go out,
And
huh? Does this mean that there's someone special that you're going to let me know about? There's like absolute shit-eating grin on Andrea's face.
oh, I'm gonna go practice some drums, not in the apartment.
Where do you practice now? I don't think you even told me yet.
I think Ava goes to the park. Um,
Okay.
and I think she ended up getting like a big steel drum that she goes out and she plays on right now.
Hmm. Okay. Um. So are you practicing in the open, or is there
Um,
like?
so I think what she's got is she's got her, her regular like a can of pepper spray, and she goes like deep into the park because she's like, it's late, no one will bother me, and if people bother me, they'll just think I'm a regular steel drum player. They'll leave me a couple bucks.
Okay. I mean, busking is busking.
Yeah.
I guess part of the reason I asked is because I wanted to know: do you want people to observe you, or are you just is this just a place that you think no one will notice you?
Second one, because she's trying to tap into magic that's not gonna be too dangerous
Hmm.
in a place that's public enough that she can leave behind.
I mean, I imagine playing steel drums in public. Yeah. Um. Okay, so you make your way to the park mostly unimpeded. Um, like you notice on your way that the authorities seem to be very busy all of a sudden, but you're not in anyone's way, and you haven't done anything that is grounds for you getting harassed or arrested. So they mostly just annoy you and let you go on your way.
Mhm.
Um, and then there is a ping on Discord.
Okay.
This is where I return to a thing, because I wanted this to be more or less set up in parts, which is now that you have filled out your information for the clash, part of that information would have obviously included your band's name. So I'm just gonna give everybody an opportunity to like tell me what do they think the band's name is.
Oh, I remember at the time when we kind of like collected ourselves after the apartment encounter, the idea of Astral Arms coming up as a potential band name, and I'm still super into that.
I remember this as well. Is everyone in agreement with that? Or does anyone have any other ideas?
The other one that I had pitched was accordial eclectic, because
Yeah.
the word accordial, if you spell it, how did I spell it? I'm pretty sure I spelled it with the word chord being spelled as such. It's a pun of 3 different ways that I could explain, but maybe I won't. Let people think what it is.
I remember it's kind of like both musical terms and the fact it's about agreement, even though for the most part we've been kind of struggling through the agreement in parts. So
Well,
it's kind of like,
cordial means we're being kind of polite, but A in front means not in certain word generation. I forget the word for how words are made. But
Yes.
yeah, A. So not a cordial or not cordial, and then accordion is just an instrument, and then chord is a thing. And then eclectic because we're an eclectic bunch and it's a fun word.
Yeah. Ava, did Ava contribute anything to this discussion about the name?
Oh, Vale is a fan of puns, and I was gonna. What we could do is call a song "Astral Arms" if we still want to use that.
Yeah.
Because we're still. Because I love both of them, which makes me not useful in this conversation.
Okay. Duly noted.
Astral arms of the accordion eclectic. Just go.
Just put everything together. I guess is possible. But for the time being, I'm going to say that the sheet has a cordial eclectic on it.
okay.
The astral cordial because that way.
Astral arms could be one of our songs. There.
Yeah, no, I like the idea of Astral Arms being one of the names.
Astral arms is actually a great song title.
It is. That's actually kind of rad. So, while you are out, Ava, you get a ping on Discord, and when you check your phone, it actually makes no sense to you whatsoever. Because this is not a friend. This is not a friend or an acquaintance on Discord, and not someone who is not someone whose primary location on their settings is set to close to your school or close to your apartment complex, which are settings that you put in place to ensure that weirdos didn't message you on Discord in the middle of the night. So it's supposed to be impossible for you to get this message because you have no idea where this person is from. Their profile picture is of a pair of drumsticks, but it looks like a photo that Andrea has taken, and the name on the account is ACE fan. And you have no idea who this person is. You've never interacted with this person before, and the settings should have made it such that this person would have never messaged you. But this person has sent you a message going, take care, the streets are hot right now. Apparently something is happening further up the block from the park. Can't wait to see you perform XO. And then that message is followed up with a picture of like the commotion that is taking place on that main street from what seems to be just like half a block away. Like this person has to be close enough that if they're not an authority or a firefighter, they should not have been there.
Ava's too curious for her own good,
Oh Lord.
especially because this isn't supposed to happen. And Ava's gonna pick up her drum and start sort of moving briskly down the block.
Okay. Are you gonna let anybody else know that you're doing the thing, or are you just gonna do the thing?
Oh, Ava's gonna be like, "Do you guys know who this is?" And sort of like do like a sloppy screenshot of her phone.
Okay. Have we ever discussed how computer savvy, how like tech savvy Ava is?
No, and I think I'm saying right now that Ava isn't like grandmother levels of like you have to explain new stuff to her, but she's not skilled.
Okay. I think you need to give me a tinker roll.
Not a tinker roll, not a thing that I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to roll 2d20s.
Oh, is that the case?
Yeah, I don't have tinker.
Okay, let's see.
Alright, let's get this going. 2d20. That's a 2.
Uh,
Or what do we want? A failure or a strain?
I mean, strainings beat failures. I'm sorry. Um,
Oh, I do it so good. I do it so good I break my phone.
okay, I know what happens. Um, you take the screenshot, and like you take the screenshot actually pretty expertly, and you send it to everybody else. Um, and then everybody else, Oliver, River, and Nakmat, when you see the message, like you notice the screenshot, you notice Ava asking if anybody knows who this is, and then both of those messages, while you're still looking at the thread, both of those messages disappear.
Oh,
And then all of you get a ping on Discord from another user. And now all four of you are in a group with ACE fan. And the first message and they just that thread opens with a message that just says, "Sorry about that. I really just wanted you all to be safe. XO." And then they just come offline. This entire chat room is still there, but they are now not online anymore.
At the very least, because this is public persona, Oliver. Um, Oliver in the real world, I guess, in his bedroom at 1 a.m. is kind of like, oh, shit. But messages back, well, if you're looking forward to our next performance, we'll see you there, smiley face.
I should also clarify for time purposes that this happens like minutes after you notice like your crystal has disappeared from the observatory.
Oh, then
Okay,
Oliver
so-
has not looked at or responded to his phone.
And River's driving. River's not looking at her phone.
River should ideally still be on the road. Hopefully. Or like closer to actually making the delivery at least.
If it's like right after the delivery, then it could be before she starts driving off again.
Yeah. This would also be around the same time that Nakmat should be closer to the scene. Because now you have noticed at this point that your arrow is actively pointing at the scene.
okay. How far am I from the scene?
Um, eh, 3-ish blocks.
I'm gonna start
both
going even
you-
faster.
Both you and Ava are roughly 3-ish blocks from the scene at this precise point.
Just in opposite directions.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm gonna start moving faster when I realize that there's a scene happening at the location of my arrow. I don't want to miss this.
Okay. I think you need to give me a roll.
Okay.
Give me a sneak roll.
Cool. 2d20. Here we come.
Oh no.
Okay. We were that's our screen.
Which means it's the strain, I'm sorry.
Yep. Nope, that's perfectly fine for me.
Especially because I didn't give position unaffected, but your position was supposed to be risky, and your effect
That's
was supposed
perfectly
to be
fine.
limited.
I was gonna roll it no matter what. So
But straining means this is what happens. You do this like there's a moment where you pause to ask yourself, do I really want to see what is happening in the thing? Because the last time I was in, the last two times that I was in the active zone of magical catastrophe, I gained magical black crystals after sending what looked like a demon back to hell. And then those crystals tore a hole into my friend's neighbor's apartment roof and turned my hand into glass. Maybe I shouldn't be here.
You know, that's a reasonable voice to have in your head, which I'm going to promptly silence.
And the act of you silencing it is like so drastic and perfect that you find yourself just essentially going with the flow, and you do this like the movements that you're about to make are akin to um like how how an animal would sneak from one place to the other in a Looney Tunes cartoon. You do not hide from anyone. You just essentially slide from one hidden position to the other without like really making any attempt to be stealthy. You are just like essentially walking past dozens of armed civil servants, and you get all the way into this apartment building.
Confidence is key. This is what months of sneaking into university campus, which I totally belong on and don't have to sneak onto, has taught me.
Yeah.
There was one point where you hid behind a pole that you were much too wide to hide behind, and then you stuck your head out on the other side.
Of course.
Even though the rest of your body was still somehow hidden.
And the pole itself was one of those poles that wasn't like a single pole. It was two poles next to one another with a space in between where you could see through it anyways.
So you make it all the way past all of these people and all the way into the apartment building, and you are like now facing the elevator. Ava, you notice Nakmat just before they enter the building. You are now at this point like a block and a half away. Are you going to do a thing?
I'm trying to think if she has the confidence to be like, oh, I'm with them and just walk through.
I mean, that's a thing you can try.
I think that's definitely what she's gonna try. I think she's gonna put on this air and try and be like, let me through.
I need a clipboard.
Remind me again what some of your abilities are.
Of course, I have make way. You push yourself to do one. Pry open a path to enter or leave a space. Push a crowd apart to make room. Block or push back an obstruction. Or I can take it. When resisting magical force, you and one person take one less stress. I also have a 2 to direct. Or a 1 to scuffle.
I was actually thinking that this would be a direct roll. Very definitely. So your position is desperate. Please make note of that.
Ooh, that's an experience point.
And your effect is limited.
Okay, so I'm going to roll d20 on this with a +4. That is a 14, which I believe is an outstanding success.
I think so, yes.
Yep.
Okay. Delightful. So you are like making your way to this like small ocean of cars, and an authority comes up right in front of you. A very thin, tall person. They seem a little bit. They seem quite younger than you. They seem like they're supposed to be early college age, like they're in their early 20s, and they come up to you and say, "I'm sorry, but you aren't allowed to be here. Can you please step back while the authorities are doing their thing?"
Oh, thank you so much for worrying about me. I'm actually right here with them. I'm supposed to be here.
Uh, um, are you sure?
Yeah, I was just getting back from confiscating this, and she's gonna show the steel drum, and she's gonna push it into their arms. She's like, "Could you handle that for me? I'd really appreciate it." And she's gonna try and just walk past.
Um, yeah, I could, okay, and they just walk away with your steel drum and are prepared to like put it away as evidence somewhere elsewhere, while you just get into the building.
Sometimes you lose things in the process of being awesome, but
I mean, yeah. Um, so you get into the building and you notice, Nakmat is still standing in front of the elevator.
yeah, I'm just gonna like hurry, like do like a hurry walk,
Yeah.
like a fast teacher walk towards a fight. Um,
He's
that
just
type of
humming,
walk.
completely unaware that you're coming. Or at least, I think you might notice that there's a fast walk behind her and is playing oblivious that someone is fast walking towards her as she hums.
And it was like, Nakmat, what are you doing here? Why are you in here?
Oh, wow, hey, how did you get in here?
Oh, I did my teacher thing.
Oh,
Really easy. There was a young police officer. I told them that I confiscating a steel drum off them and I was supposed to be here, and they just sort of stepped aside.
that was a lot more complicated than what I did.
Yeah, you just sort of walked in here? Is there something I should know?
What do you mean?
Like, are you suddenly like a civil servant?
No. It's just really easy to walk into places if you have the confidence.
I feel that. Okay.
It's just what you did with less talking.
Yeah. I really gotta figure that out. So why are we? So I got
I
the
just
weird text
pull up
at
my
the
hand.
scene. Oh, that's not. I mean,
Yep. And the arrow is pointing upstairs.
okay.
Are you going to take the elevator or the staircase? Just to ask.
Is the elevator like not showing up? Because the elevator doesn't show up in like 30 seconds of me standing there. I probably start going to the staircase.
Oh yeah, you pressed the button and the thing didn't happen.
Alright, I've been here 45 seconds. It's stairs time. That's past my waiting limit. My patience is exhausted. We're taking the stairs.
Should we tell River and Oliver what we're doing?
Pulls out my phone without breaking stride because that is just Discord and walking and going. At sight, climbing stairs, arrow in hand points to disaster. Smiley face emoji. Sorry, smiley face emoticon. It's an important distinction.
Noted.
I think Ava just goes ahead and while she's sort of like rushing after Nakma, who is like totally like in control in this moment, and sort of like giving Ava this like confidence to like follow. Ava's just like, I might be late tonight, and sends that to Andrea. Which doesn't help the thought that Andrea thinks that Ava's like seeing someone right now.
Andrea sends two messages to you almost immediately. Um, one is a series of kissy faces and exclamation points in like one long row. And then the other is a photograph of the nightly news that is covering the thing. And Andreas put like text on the photo somewhere in the corner that says, "Please be safe. The streets be wildin' tonight."
I love my fake daughter.
Yeah, your fake daughter is the best.
Yeah. Um. Yes. Ava doesn't. Ava just sends a like a heart, and she's like, I'll deal with these thoughts later.
Okay. So you're all going upstairs. I'm going to say at this point, um, while it might take a while for anybody to get here, I'm simply acknowledging for time that River, you are now like safely done with your deliveries if you wanted to race to this place at this point. Um, and Oliver, it might take like a bus ride, but you can also arrive here if you wish.
Yeah, Oliver is like almost home, somewhat dejectedly of the kind of like, I had to leave it behind. Then gets the message and is like a block away from his own house and is like, God damn it! And turns round and starts making their way back into town again.
Okay.
River does first check her hand. Does it have an arrow on it?
It does not at the moment. Just presently keeping still. You have noticed, obviously, all of the messages that you have previously gotten.
Yep. Oh no. Message deleted. Don't have all the context. Okay. That's the same coordinates as the pileup. Nachmat's definitely going there. Fine. And then vroom.
Okay. Meanwhile, as Ava and Ahmad are still going upstairs, you arrive at the top floor of this apartment building. And I would like you all to give me an observe or study roll, whichever one you prefer.
Position and effect.
Your position is risky, and your effect is standard.
I'm gonna do a d20 plus 2 is an 11.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep straining.
I can't do anything but strain.
I love it.
Right. Ava,
Yes.
you notice the first thing that you notice when you come out of the staircase and into the hallway before this apartment entrance is that this otherwise not very well tended to tile floor, where you can obviously see like dirt and cobwebs and stuff like that gathering in its corners, is remarkably slick right now. It is. Every step that you make is like sliding across the floor of this hallway. That's the first thing that you notice. The first thing that Nakmat notices is this very intense, like, warm sensation in your translucent hand. And when you look down to determine exactly what's the source of that feeling, you notice that the pink arrow that was in your finger beforehand has split into three smaller arrows. All of them are pointing in different directions, and all of them are literally spinning in your hand.
Spinning, but pointing in one direction, or
All of them are pointing in. Each of them are pointing in different directions.
gotcha. But I mean, like while they're spinning, are they changing the direction they're pointing in, or
No, each one of
okay,
them is settled on a direction.
gotcha.
The first is settled on the elevator. It is settled in the direction of the elevator, which is when you like look at it and notice that the reason why it wasn't working, the reason why it didn't come down for you, is because it is essentially a solid block of ice right now. You can see frost building up outside of it. The middle arrow is pointing inside the apartment, like pointing through the apartment door. and the other is pointing at what would only be outside the apartment building, like past a window or past the alley downstairs.
Okay. Hey Ava, is there any chance you can clone yourself?
I I've never tried it.
Well, I have 3 arrows here, and there's only 2 of us.
I mean, and Ava's gonna lean in and look over like Nachmat's shoulder
Yeah.
and sort of like, I mean, one of those is pointing out that window.
Yeah, I mean, so like, if I'm gonna recap the situation, the elevator from hell has frozen over. My spooky ghost hand wants me to walk out and float in space, and there's a mysterious door that's actually really normal in comparison, but I'm sure it's going to probably pretty weird. So let's go experiment with that one. And just starts walking towards the door unless Ava stops her.
Nah, Ava's like totally vibing with like Nachmat's confidence right now. Like,
Okay, so Nakmat opens the door and you both go in. Um, I'm just going to give your confidence the win right now and say, as you enter, two police officers literally are prepared to exit, and they just like salute you and walk past you, not prepared to ask any questions. Your confidence has won the day.
I mean, that makes sense considering one of my abilities is my ability to like talk to folks with power or authority has increased effect. So
Nice. Yeah, I'll just give you the win at this point.
yeah.
So you both enter the room. You notice that the room is immediately very cold to your body, but you don't notice like outward, any immediately observable outward changes to like the actual presentation of the room, except for some like puddles of water in places where they could not have naturally gathered. Um, you notice that one of the windows leading into the alley is broken. Um, you notice that there is a broken glass of whiskey on the floor, and other than that, the room is like otherwise actually quite pristine. It's like a very expensive apartment, the kind of thing that in this hex alone, which is not necessarily one of the more expensive hexes, would go for like high six figures um, to own. Is there anything that you want to look for in particular? Any tests that you want to conduct? Anything that stands out to you that you want to observe in this room?
Ava wants to figure out. Sorry.
I was asking if you had any ideas, so go ahead.
Oh, Ava wants to figure out who might, like, what exactly, why are the police here? Like, if there's any clue as to, like, why the police are here and who might own where the hell they are right now.
Uh-huh. That's the kind of intuition that would be required to gather that information, I think would require study.
I
I
got
think
that.
makes sense.
Let's roll a d20.
Your
Plus 2.
position,
Sorry.
I was going to say that your position was controlled and your effect was standard.
It's an 11 with a 9
11.
plus 2. Yep. I succeed.
Okay. Um, I mean, you immediately kind of gloss over the kind of obvious, this must be a crime scene, and then stop to like ask yourself, like, you stop to ask yourself two kind of very peculiar questions on their face, which is, why is the state of this crime scene in this way? And who lives here? and that leads you to like stop and like reconsider what's in this room and try to determine um, what's the first thing that I can easily find in this room that will probably tell me who this person is. And that's when you notice that um, on one of the hallway walls is like five or six um, like awards for several records going platinum, but all of the names on all of those awards are different names. So you immediately determine, well, it's not, these aren't, these belong to this person, not because this person is a recording artist, but probably because he's a producer, a record executive, somebody in the business who is responsible for all of these things. Um, you also idly notice that one of those awards seems to be kind of frosted over to the point where you can't very clearly make out the name of the song or the artist on that award. But it doesn't immediately strike your, it doesn't immediately gain your attention at that point. At that point, you're like, well, what else can I find that would potentially identify this person then? So you're looking now for another award or another series of awards that would probably give you a name. And you eventually find two. What are the equivalents of Grammys in this universe? I'm not going to name them at this moment. I'll think of a clever name at some point. Um, but both of them have both of them are sound design credits for someone named Eric Dixon.
Okay. And so,
And like what immediately stands out to you as you like discover that name is, it's not somebody that you would immediately care about, but like you've consumed enough entertainment news by osmosis because you have a
yeah.
because you have a teenage daughter and because you teach in a high school, that Eric Dixon is a particularly well-known music producer, like one of the best pop producers of the decade, arguably.
Mm. Um, she would relay that to that one. Like, this guy, he's a producer.
Oh, I've heard that name. Interesting. And that's
All
not this. Oh, wait.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so you said there was a broken bottle of whiskey, right?
Broken glass that contains whiskey
Yeah.
in it.
Is there any other glasses of whiskey that are not broken nearby?
You can notice the bottle with the glass bottle that the whiskey came in is perfectly pristine. And there is like a display with other glasses of that same broken kind nearby, but it's
Perfect.
actually far away from the scene and mostly
That's fine.
undisturbed.
I'm going to go to the display cases with the glasses,
Hmm.
and I'm going to like pull out a tuning fork and hit the lid of the glass. I want to see if like the sound of the glass does anything to the puddles or anything in the room.
Okay, give me an attune roll.
Yeah.
Your position is risky, and your effect is standard.
All right. Will I? Okay, that's just a standard full success.
Okay. You tap your tuning fork against one of the glasses. You know that trick that people show on the internet where if you take a bottle out of a freezer that still seems more or less unchilled, and then you just tap one corner of it, and suddenly the entire bottle turns to slush ice?
Yep.
You do that to this glass. It literally didn't have anything in it, and now it's filling with what is essentially small fragments of frozen moisture around it, such that it is now like filling up with frost and frosting up on all of its sides. That like sensation mildly stretches to the rest of the display that it's in, but stops like about um 4 or 5 millimeters away from the glass.
How'd you do that?
Oh, well, I can show you again. But never mind, doesn't.
Okay.
Good. Well, basically, I just tapped it with this. I had a hunch maybe there was something to do with noise or at least music magic in here, and I'm guessing that this proves that.
Ava's gonna text River and Oliver and say, if you're on your way, just say you're meeting a pair of detectives upstairs at a crime scene. Just like you're experts. Why not? They seem to just she's like writing like quickly and just like very frustratedly like these seem to just let anybody up here.
And you see a shot of River hiding behind a mailbox because she's trying to sneak in. She's not a good liar.
I'm going to say for these purposes that you noticed, River, that the crowd of people around here are now like even more like confused. That you can now like slip past them very easily. But now that you are here behind this mailbox, I would like you very much to make an observe or study roll for me, whichever one you prefer.
Sure, I'll do study this time.
Your position is risky, and your effect is great.
Okay, come on, boot. That's another one, but it's a like I should have said this before, but I have +4, so that does make it a minor success.
It does. You
Why am I wrong? That's 2 1s. Yeah. Okay, let's go.
you notice that among like the things that are still taking place downstairs in the street, among all of these um, authorities and firefighters, they are commenting very heavily on something that is not upstairs. You haven't heard them clarify what it is or where it is, but you know that it's not upstairs.
I just know it's not upstairs, as in it's on ground level, or just that it's not upstairs.
It's on ground level.
Hmm.
As you make that observation, Oliver finally arrives on the street around where you are.
Mhm. Gosh, it's busy here. Did they say, scrolling through the messages, did they actually say where they were? At the very least, it seems that this is probably the building. Everybody's kind of crowding around it. And what's that on the windows outside? Like it's all frosted over. And we crab walk. Oh, actually, to be honest, if Oliver gets stopped, do, because it's been literally in real world time months, the police officer who the first kind of big magical event at Ava's place, like apartment building, and we spoke to like what was clearly the commanding officer of that rank of police. Did we get her name? Because if it was something that Oliver would know and is then stopped by police, Oliver brings that name up. But otherwise, just kind of sneaks their way into the building.
I vaguely recall. I vaguely recall all of you learning at least one of their names, but I cannot remember what it is.
It's minutiae unless it comes up later and we see her again. But for at the very least, Oliver can do that kind of blagging in terms of like, oh no, we've met somebody who works specifically in this job of responding to Arcano musical effects. So there's that kind of level of bluffing if he stopped, but otherwise makes his way into the building.
Yeah, I will say like you remember like their badge number, something like that. And, so for the purposes of getting to that point, I guess I'll say that Oliver and River have met up, and that has happened.
Oliver, it normally wears an oversized kind of puffer jacket underneath athletic wear and zips off the puffer jacket, being like, oh, it's definitely freezing in here. Goodness.
River was wearing, or it still is wearing, like a leather motorcycle jacket, and had a helmet and is holding it, and is wearing gloves and stuff. So she's like mostly all right, but she can feel like the cold, biting wind on her face. Like, I guess they're up there. Nakhmat does know that usually when arrows point at danger, you're supposed to not go in the way of the arrows, right?
This is Nakmat we're talking about here. I think kind of an enthusiastic pursuit of the things that she's looking into is kind of her MO. At the very least, let's see if we can find them and hope that they haven't turned into ice sculptures.
Yep, watch the railings. I mean, we could slip, but we don't want to freeze to those either. Walk.
Yeah. A careful, crouched walk up the stairs.
Okay. And then you all get upstairs, where you meet Ava and Nakhmat. And
Yes. What the heck's going on? This is well, I was gonna say this is new, but it's also pretty familiar at this point.
Is this where the danger is that your arrow's pointed at?
One of the places, right? Nakba?
Yeah.
which is where I point out now that of the 3 arrows that are in your finger, 2 of those arrows have now like stopped spinning, and you can see them like kind of slowly reducing themselves back to like pink bubbles in the like weird nebula of your hand. But one of them, the one that is still pointing out the window, is still active and spinning in your finger.
River does go towards the window saying, the authorities downstairs seem to think that there wasn't business up here. It was the drama on ground level that everyone was paying attention to.
As
That looks out the window.
As you get to the window, everyone who is walking towards the window, I would like you to make an observe roll for me.
Oh, simultaneously.
Alternatively, anyone who is not at the window, anyone who is or is not at the window can make an attune roll instead.
I'll make it a tune roll from inside the room.
I'll make an observe roll.
Okay. River is going to make an observe roll, I assume?
Yes,
All right.
because she is walking towards the window.
Out of 17, that's a stunning performance.
I will also make an attune then in that case.
I got
That's
a
a
3 and a 5, so it's definitely a fail.
A stunning performance.
I am rolling bad.
Right.
1, 2, 3, +4. A regular success.
Okay.
Barely.
So, I want to make sure about positions and effects. Oliver rolled attune or observe?
Attune, sorry.
Right. Everyone who rolled attune, your position is desperate. Please mark.
Oh,
Please,
okay.
please take note of that accordingly. And your effect was great. And everyone who observed, your position is controlled and your effect was standard.
Nice.
So, Ava succeeded. River did not.
No.
Nakhmat succeeded. And Oliver
Standingly.
succeeded.
Yeah.
Right. So, um, River looks out the window and sees a crowd of people gathered around what seems to be garbage, and isn't really immediately prepared to like make heads or tails of the situation. Um, right. This is going to be interesting for everybody else.
Sorry.
Nothing interesting. Just
Ava,
garbage.
Ava looks out the window and can very clearly see, nope, that is not garbage. Those aren't regular black plastic bags. Those are. That is actually what is supposed to be otherwise the content of one, um, like, large black top, separated into several pots. All of those pots are frosted over, and you can see like several police officers and um, like medical personnel like gathered over it and go and like you can very awkwardly make out one of them saying, if this isn't magic, I have no idea how this person got into this state. We can do an autopsy later, but this is kind of out of my wheelhouse until we take it back to the lab.
Oh dear, this was a murder. We're in a murder scene right now. I think
Ava,
that's what Ava puts up and realizes.
Ava turns to Oliver and Nakmat as she makes that observation. And both of you have varying levels of the same very peculiar feeling. For Oliver, you feel like this chill rising up as you stand in this room. It's not like absurdly cold, but you know that it's an unnatural cold for where you are at this evening on this day.
Mhm.
And you can see little glimmers of uh, Eric Dixon in this apartment, kind of like this kind of ghostly kind of figure of him.
Echoes of him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as he was in the hallway, you see this frightened look on his face. You see him rush over to his glass of bourbon. You can very vaguely see that he responds to that glass of bourbon with confusion and frustration. Um, and then you see him look roughly in your direction and then be pulled by something, and that's where your image of that ends.
Where did you go from there?
Nakmat sees something completely different.
Mm.
Nakmat sees what is essentially these like three shadowy figures. Not echoes of the scene itself, but these, well, not echoes of the scene while Eric was still present, but echoes of the scene after Eric had been flung out the window. You see them kind of gather among each other. Um, you can hear that they're saying something, but you can't make out what. Um, and then, for a moment, it seems like to you, like they're not, like they're actually very present in this space. Like they're not supposed to, like they know that they're not supposed to be here. They're not supposed to be observed. You see, one of the ones with one of the ones has yellow lines of some sort across the veil of their across their face. You see one of them look very hurriedly around the room, and then you see them put their hands in what seem to be pockets in the robes that they're wearing. Um, take out a piece of paper and make this very hurried scribble, and they place it, and you see them walk towards the television in the apartment and place it behind where the television is like hung on the wall. And while that is happening, Nakmat, you notice that the only one of the three that has red lines across the veil on their face looks between the other two and then turns to face you very decidedly. And this is happening when you're not supposed to be here, so you have no idea why they're looking at you. But you feel as if they can definitely see you. And they walk up to you. And say something. You know that they're saying something, but you don't hear what. And then that echo just kind of fades away. But you know now that someone wrote something on a piece of paper. You're the only one who knows. Someone wrote something on a piece of paper and put it behind the TV.
So I hear, like, snap back, and I hear Eva saying, "A murder happened here," and I just nod slowly and like walk past Eva towards the TV, and I want to see the note.
The note in very handsome, flowery calligraphy, in ink that seems to like change color from pink to deep red to deep purple to deep blue and back again. Says, "I am coming for you, and everyone who let me freeze." And it is signed in like in block letters. It is signed Weirder, Weirdder, and on the back of the piece of paper just has the word Devlin appearing on the text, not as if it's been written or even if it's been embossed, but as if this piece of paper at some point had been frozen with an embossment on it, and now the paper is just like warped with those letters impressing out of it.
As in, that would then mean that the imprinting of the word Devlin would be backwards?
You can still read it forwards, but it was made backwards, as if they had to like literally distress the page in order to make it instead of actually professionally embossing it.
Interesting.
And as you notice that and you make that, like, you point out that piece of paper to everybody else, Ava, you notice that name very obviously, and you have exactly that reaction. And that's where we'll cut this episode of Soundclash the Clampdown.
Yeah, boy, yeah.
So yeah,
Screaming.
screaming.
Wow.
God.
Don't touch things. We're in a crime scene.
So yeah, now this is the part where things happen, because this is where we progress to two very interesting things taking place for the rest of the series, which is engaging in the clash now that you have a name and a band, and other things that are now trapped in a very same creative space, and I'm really hoping that you get into some more shenanigans as a result, seeing as you can like slip through crime scenes now. So more of that, please. But yes, I'm very excited for us to get into more of this. Which means that very soon you will be able to see the actual band sheet that is designed for the game Soundclash. It is not visibly done yet, but when it is visibly done, not only will you see the punk band sheet, but I will actually make a image of the template available for viewers to be able to see what it will look like, because there are some deviations from Blades in the Dark sheets that I'm willing to make, and I think that would be really cool. Um, until then, I'm really excited that we got to do so many wild things for this session. Um, Unfortunately, this is for everyone. This will be the last session for the month of February. We'll be returning in March, but I will not, unfortunately, be streaming on the 28th. So more information about the next episode of Soundclash coming soon. But until then, I would like all of my wonderful performers to please let everyone know who you are, what you do, and where people can find more of your work. Starting with Vale.
Hi guys, you've just seen me be Valet and Ava Peron. You can find my work. I've got some masks. I've got a mask playbook out, as well as an interstitial playbook out on my itch.io, which is Villain Vicencio. Same as my Twitter handle, and I'm having a game coming out soon. So I hope you guys are, follow me on itch to know when that comes out. It's gonna be really exciting.
Okay, I'm definitely looking out for those then. Thank you. Next, Nathan.
Hello, hello. I am the living embodiment of Rivals to Lovers trope, Nathan Blades. Thank you so much for joining me and all of us on this fantastic session. You can see me on the Neoncaster Twitch channel, which has already been linked to in the doobly-doo. We just finished our big campaign of Arcana Core, which was a Persona-inspired campaign run in both City of Mist and Void Heart Symphony. It is, in my opinion, fantastic, and you should go watch the VODs for that. What's coming up next? I don't even know yet. Probably a whole bunch of one-shots. I have a one-shot of Net Battlers, a system designed to be like the Mega Man Battle Network video games coming up soon that I'll be doing open casting for. So keep an eye on that on my Twitter handle, which is also in the Twitch doobly-doo. So, come check that stuff out.
Nice. Next, Katie.
Hi, I'm Katie. I've been River Song for you. You can find all my contact stuff in the chat right there, as was said before. If you want to hear some more of my voice recorded and on the internet, you can go to valencepod.com to listen to the Valence podcast, where season 2 has just started and episode 2 just released yesterday, and I'm told I did a good job by the creators, so that's good. In general, I'm still a student of comedy at the comedy place that I'm comedying and learning from. But as I said in my yearbook quote, there's a million things I haven't done. Just you wait. Just you wait.
Oh, God. Thank you very much. And last but not least, Amber.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm Mohammed Emraz. You can find me everywhere on the internet at Emraz. I do game design and writing stuff, as well as podcast appearances and other things. Right now, as mentioned before, mostly dealing with writing. Just finished writing a stretch goal for Thirsty Sword Lesbians, which I'm really excited about to be in everyone's hands, hopefully soon in the next couple months. Doing some other writing stuff that I can't talk about, as well as my own projects. But yeah, you can follow along on Twitter.
Nice. I just want to say very idly that I backed TSL, so I'm really excited to see some of those stretch goal stuff, because I really want to play Thirsty Sword Lesbians at some point, hopefully on stream. So yes, thank you very much for that. I have been your stage manager for this evening, Brandon O'Brien. Um, I am not only the GM of this game, but actually the designer of the game Soundclash, which is still in development. And you can find out more about its development and support its development by following me on Twitter at The Rising Tides. You can follow me on Patreon at Brandon O'Brien. Patreon.com/Brandon O'Brien. I have my own itch page, therisingtides.itch.io, where I will not only make Soundclash available, but I've also done all manner of other very neat game things, including the crew sheet for the Blaze in the Dark series that I also run on this channel in collaboration with the podcast Speculate, which is the case of Descended Steel. The Fugitives crew sheet that I designed for that game is available on my itch.io page, as well as other small game things that I have made, and at some point Soundclash will join them. and you can find out more about my design and writing work at brandonobrien.space. So yes, thank you very much for joining me. I'm going to very briefly make myself orally unavailable on this Zoom call while I handle some of the housekeeping things. So I will be back in a moment. While I do this over here for you all. Thank you so very much for joining me on yet another technically disparate stream. I'm sure that I'm going to figure out what the thing is. I'm going to resolve the thing, and then we're never going to have to think about the thing again. But I still have no idea what the source of the thing is, and I'm very sorry. I am responsible for that, and I promise that I will discover the source of that issue and resolve it very soon. But thank you so much for joining me despite those issues. Um, Thank you so very much for spending your Valentine's Day evening with us as we engaged in some magic shenanigans. Um, I'm very glad to have shared this space with you all. Thanks so much to Arv, definitely, for making this space for us on a fortnightly basis in order to play this game. Thank you to everyone in the chat, especially thank you, Triffity Mats and Arudinel, for being such diligent mods. Even in the face of some technical difficulties. Thank you very much. So let me shout out the moderators, Arudinel, Triffity Mats, and hey, look, that's me, the Rising Tides. And the users that I see that are visible: Abad Costello, Amaraz, another TTV viewer, Aiton, Carbob14XYZ, Casino Thanks, Commander Root, Critwitch, ECAG, which may or may not be a bot, Extra More, Effed Up Air, Garlic Tofu, Go With Him, Have This Too, Ice Wizards, Joint Effort, Macaroni KTX, Mrs. Dunstill, Silly Gnome 225, The Neon Caster, you Christensen, and Villa Vicencio. Thank you so very much for joining us for this stream. I'm really glad that you. Oh, ECAG is actually a person, I'm sorry. Um, Thanks so very much for joining us on this stream. Sundays are more or less the times that I will be available on this stream. In fact, next week Sunday you can join us for an episode of Blades in the Dark: The Case of the Descended Seal, which hopefully will not have these technical issues because I will, in fact, definitely be checking out some things to make sure that those things stop happening. But until then, I would like to wish you all a very wonderful evening. I hope you have a safe and enjoyable Valentine's Day night. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. I hope you all be safe, and above all, please, 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 love each other and be secure each other in this wild and crazy time that we all live in. And may the frequency guide you. Thank you very much.